Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway and welcome back to my Tri-ang Davey Crockett restoration series. This is part 2 of this project and part 1 can be found up here if you'd like to check that out. During part 1 I dismantled the entire locomotive, I cleaned up the bodies, I polished up all of the metalwork and prepared the wheels and other parts of the model for painting. And that's what's going to happen today. I've taken the liberty of preparing a few things. I have masked up the side of the Loco cab ready for painting, and part of that involved 3D printing a little mask that goes over the Davy Crockett nameplates because I didn't want to ruin those. I've also strapped the wheels into their painting masks so that I can put some yellow paint into the airbrush and start painting yellow. So I'm itching to get started. Let's get this model painted, reassembled, and then hopefully back onto the track. Right, let's get some yellow paint into the airbrush and let's get it onto the model. And since the wheels are going to be painted in the same shade of yellow, I've decided I'm going to spray these as well. A few coats each, and also the side of the cab is getting a few coats as well until it all looks nice and even. While all of these parts dry, I'm now going to grab the cow catcher and put some red paint onto that so that it matches the original one. Right, so the cowcatcher is now off to dry and I thought I would take off one of these masks from the wheels, see how that's looking. So if I carefully peel back the tape, should be able to see whether I've got a nice clean paint job on this wheel or not. If not, I'll have to rethink. But no, that looks fine. Look at that. Yeah, that looks really good, doesn't it? Okay. Nice clean paint job on the wheels, and I did them all in the exact same way, so hopefully they will all look as good as this. Okay, and let's have a look at how the Loco's looking, and then I need to think about what I'm going to do next. But first let me get all this masking tape off. I've got a lot of the black from the other parts coming off. Yeah, look at that. All that black paint stripping off the roof there. Well, it's a good job I'd planned to paint the roof. Now I've got a good reason to. And then the last thing will be to take off the Davy Crockett masks, so let's do that. Okay. There we are. I've still got a couple of bits of blue tack in there, which I probably should get. Hang on. Okay, so there is the finished result. The sides of the cab are now looking absolutely perfect. The other two things I want to do to this are paint the black sections, so that's the running plate, and I've actually managed to pull even more paint off there. So that's definitely one that needs doing. And also the chrome coloured handrails. Some of the paint's come off that actually during the cleaning process, so that will need to be done as well. So I think I'm going to start with the handrails, and I'm going to mask those off first of all. So I've masked off a small part of the handrails here, and I'm going to try painting these with the airbrush. I think for the rest I might just try and do it by hand, but we'll see how it goes. Right, let's give it a go. Okay, well that was simple. I'll leave this to dry. It is time to do the black, and I'm really looking forward to seeing this cab roof tidied up. So, mask on, let's do it. So while the paint dries, I'm going to have a go at reattaching the wheels to the chassis. And basically I have to quarter them and then make sure that they are gauged correctly. So let's give this a try. I'm going to put the centre axle on first. I think I'm going to press it on a little way to start with and then get the quartering right. So these are supposed to be gauged to about 13.8. And currently that's at 14, so it's not far away. There, that looks pretty good. Right, so I'm going to put the other wheels on in the same way, and I'll be back with you in just a second. Right, so I think I can now pronounce the body finished. Some of the handrails are a little bit messy. I sort of got better as I went along, but I think on the whole this is as good as I'm going to be able to get it. And that means, at long last, I'm ready to start reassembling. Right, so I think the project's looking pretty good. I managed to get the wheels back onto the chassis. I just showed you me putting one of them on, but I got the rest of them on okay. Body's looking good, it's still underneath the fan, getting the paint finally dry. So I think I'm now ready to really start reassembling this mechanism. So what I'm going to look for first is the base keeper, which is not really a base keeper, it's just the pickup holder really. But I'm going to clean it up, clean the pickups, and then get it back on. Got to try and get this cable and the little capacitor to run behind the worm drive. There we go, like that. And then I believe I can fix that into position like so. Very nice. And let's put some lubricant on the axles. I ended up not doing this because I didn't want to get any lubricant between the axle and the little plastic spacers I made, because obviously that could make the wheels slip off their axles and I don't want that. So that looks good. I think then I'm now able to start looking at putting the valve gear back together. So I'm going to need these metal rods and a little bit of glue, and let's stick them on. Okay, and I guess now's the time where I find out whether I've quartered this correctly. So it's time to replace the rods. So side rod goes on first, like so, and then I thread the piston on. Right, and then screw it all down. Now let's try the other side. I won't know if it's right until both sides are on. So let's get the other side fitted. Now, do you know what? I think I've put the wrong side on here. Yeah, darn. It's alright, at least that's not a major mistake. It's not much of a major problem. Okay, hopefully that's better. Let's put the other side rod on. It seems to fit, so that's a good sign. Right, are they quartered properly? If I can turn these wheels and it doesn't sort of seize up, then yes, they are. Yep. Alright, great. So, a little bit of lubricant, and then I'm going to keep working these wheels. Alright, well that's quite pleasing. Taken an entire chassis apart and put it back together, and it seems like it's going to work. So that's great. Right, where's the motor? Let's start reassembling this thing properly. Right, so if I lubricate the worm drive, I should now be able to power this up and see for the first time whether it's going to work. And this will be the first time I've ever tested this Loco. I never tested it when it was first delivered because I didn't care whether it worked or not. I knew I would be taking it apart entirely, so what does it matter? But now it does matter, so it's time to test. Doesn't look like we've got power to the motor. That's bizarre. Is the motor working? Yeah, the motor's working. So yeah, so I've got this annoying wire which is basically pushing on one of the brushes. So what I might do is just replace that wire. A bit of solder on the new wire. Let's take the old wire off. Smells like an old church. You ever notice that when you're soldering old wire? Smells like an old church. Strange. Right, I think that should be better. Let's try again. Okay, at last we have movement. Excellent. Okay, so with everything connected up, let's now clean the wheels for one final time just to make sure everything's conducting well. Good. Right, that looks excellent. I think now then it is finally time to try and reattach the body. Got to be extremely careful with this body because it is quite fragile given that it's freshly painted. So the body hooks on like so, and then I need a body screw that goes through the top, and then I guess I should just test to make sure it still works now that I've put the body on, because that's something I normally have trouble with. Yeah, it is working. Right. Next, let's put some of the details back on. And we'll start with the little lamp on the front. Does that need any glue, I wonder? Yeah, it could do. Could have a little bit of glue on it. Very carefully now. Put that on. Good. Got some of the metal work that needs going on then. Let's try this beautiful dome, which goes on right there. Yeah. Oh, this is looking great. And a secondary dome, which can go on now that the body is attached. And then, of course, the bell, which may or may not need some glue. Yeah, no, I think that will be okay. And now my favourite detail, and that's because I've had to create it from scratch, and that is the cow catcher. And before I put any glue on it, is it going to fit? So that should just sit in like that. Yes, it's going to fit. Awesome. So I think I will put some glue on it. Little glue. Cow catcher fitted. How awesome. Yeah, this Loco's cow catcher was completely broken and I've been able to create a brand new one, so that's really good news. And let's put that front pony truck back onto the Loco then, for the first time in goodness knows how long, with a cow catcher. Alright, so that might be the Loco complete. Yeah, I think it is. Gosh, that is so good looking. I love it. Right, the tender. I've not had to paint the tender in any way because the paint job was really good and tidy. So this can just reassemble, having had a good clean, and then I'm going to have to look at the wheels. Ideally, I would have liked to have put some metal wheels onto these tender bogies. I know that that wouldn't have been original, but I think it might have been better than these plastic ones, but the metal wheels I've got are not the same size. So unfortunately, it's going to have to be these. Okay, and then the final job, literally, I think the final job, is to just clean the tender wheels. So let's do that, try and get some of this gunge off them. Can't really use the wire wheel for this because they're plastic wheels and the friction actually melts them and destroys the wheels. So yeah, you've got to do it the old-fashioned way, which takes a little longer. So let's bring Loco and tender together for the first time since their restoration. There we go. Right. So with that, let's have a closer look at this and let's do a bit of a before versus after comparison. So here's what Davy Crockett looked like at the start of the project. Very dirty body, lots of paint missing here and there, which really didn't look good. A lot of the metal details were looking really dull and drab. The wheels were extremely messy, not a fan of the wheels, and of course the cow catcher was completely missing. And this is the final result. As you can see, the bodywork shining beautifully again. In fact, I think it looks like a completely different colour now. The cab is properly painted so that there's no chipping in the paintwork. The wheels look way tidier than they used to, really happy with that. The metal parts are incredible now. They shine wonderfully. So happy with that. The handrails, yeah, they've been painted over. I think they look a lot better. And of course, we've got a brand new cow catcher fitted onto this now, whereas before it was missing. So a complete transformation. I don't know how much this would be worth now, but I could have easily doubled my money here in terms of what it's worth now in perfect condition. So let's get it down onto the track and let's see how it runs. Right, so obviously I've not run this in yet and I suspect it is very much going to need a good run in before it's at its best, but is it alive at all? Let's give it some juice and see. Forwards. Oh, yes. Yeah, it's got some grunt to it now. Backwards. There we go. Right, so yes, it lives again. Not brilliantly running at the moment, so let's set it off around the track and see how it gets on. Please keep your fingers crossed. Well, I'll tell you what, it's very, very satisfying to see this running, and I think already seems to be getting slightly better, doesn't it? Slightly more lively, and I'm sure it will liven up even more as it runs. But yeah, I have really, really enjoyed this. It was lovely to be able to stretch my legs a little bit and take my time and not rush. And it really would have killed me to have had to have rushed a Davy Crockett anyway. So yeah, this has been a marvellous project. I think I pretty much succeeded. Yeah, I would have said this looks brand new, doesn't it? Looks pretty much brand new. And hopefully the more it runs, the better it will get as well, and then I can say that it performs like a brand new Loco. But it's not performing badly by any means. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this project. Comment down below if you did, and I might do others like it. But for now, I'll say thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Alright, cheers folks, you take care.